Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world you are. The other day, I showed this cartoon of President Mnangagwa bribing the opposition. Of course, it has worked. Everybody knows that Zimbabwe's 2023 elections are being rigged. And the opposition are fighting, are contesting those elections regardless. They are hell bent on participating in those elections. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And now it looks like this reality is not just confined to the opposition, it's spreading to other bodies in society. And in this particular case, to the the churches. There's no denying that the churches have become just as prone to Mnangagwa's political machinations as the opposition. The churches, we have got here a case of the Apostolic Church in Zimbabwe, which is mostly a local church denomination. And they've now pledged themselves to be the apostola for ED. And have promised to deliver to the president over 2 million votes of their members. And what we have got here is a photograph of the president meeting the church leaders of the apostola. And above that, photographs of vehicles that the regime has delivered to the members of the apostolic faith. Some of them have got the side of the cars inscribed apostola for ED. This is a classical case of public office and public resources being diverted for the glory of Caesar and not for the good of Rome. Mnangagwa is using public resources to buy votes. That's what it is. These apostola have pledged to deliver to him 2.3 or so million votes. And he is giving them a thank you. Just as much as Mnangagwa was bribing the members of the opposition to participate in an election process that we all know is flawed. There's no denying that the process itself is flawed. It's meaningless. But they will participate. And here we have got the apostolic faith. They are going to deliver because members of some of these churches, local churches, will do whatever their leaders tell them. They've been brainwashed to the point where they really cannot think for themselves. The big problem we have here now is a situation is we've got a political system where the glory of Caesar has become more important than the good of Rome. We have got hospitals in Zimbabwe, particularly in the rural areas, where they have no ambulances. Nurses, doctors, teachers, and so forth have been leaving the country because the government is not able to pay them a living wage. And so we find our education system has all but collapsed. Last week, I think I had a discussion on Binga, discussing a report on Binga, where 18 schools in that area had failed to have even 1% pass rate. They all had 0 pass rates. In the rural areas, in fact, other than the mission schools, those are the ones run by the Catholic Church or Anglican Church and so forth. Most of the government-sponsored schools in the rural areas are the ones who are delivering 0 pass rates, because most of the teachers have left. There are no books. The whole infrastructure is all but collapsed. Roads, there are potholes. So Zimbabwe is a failed state. And we find the country's resources are being diverted to help the regime stay in power, instead of for the good of the state, for the glory of Caesar versus the good of Rome. If these 2023 elections, one can say one of the things that they have got to achieve is end this pathetic situation where state resources and public office is being abused by those in power. We need, these elections should be first and foremost about restoring the usurped public power, to hold those in public office to account when they failed to vote them out. We need to implement the democratic reforms if we are going to stop this madness that has affected our country. The situation in Zimbabwe cannot carry on. It is really annoying that the people of Zimbabwe have risked life and limb to elect the MDC and now Triple C for the sole purpose of implementing democratic changes, as the party's name originally implied, Movement for Democratic Change. In 23 years, they failed to implement even one meaningful reform. And now, by participating in these flawed elections, they are actually helping perpetuate the Zanu PF dictatorship. Now, even churches are joining in. It's not only Apostora for ED, we have got gold diggers, partners for ED. We've got some teachers who have also pledged themselves. Now they are teachers for ED. Every one of those organizations or members in those groups, they are pledging to deliver votes to Mnangagwa. And in return, he is doing them favors. Chiefs, village heads, they are all being bribed. This cannot carry on. And I think it's up to the ordinary people of Zimbabwe to realize what's going on here. And the most effective way of stopping this madness is denouncing it in the first place. And absolutely making sure you do not participate. Because anyone who participates in this flawed election will only give the process legitimacy. And that is the most ridiculous thing you can do in the circumstance. Why are you giving the process which you know is flawed legitimacy? If you cannot stop it, at least do not participate in it. And in this particular case, we cannot stop it. And we also know that the opposition is participating in it out of greed. We can denounce the process itself as flawed and illegal. We can also denounce the opposition for their greed and make it abundantly clear that the outcome of this election cannot be the democratic will of the people. And therefore, then Zanu PF should be denied legitimacy. Deny Zanu PF legitimacy will bring us back to where we were in 2008, where we had the government of national unity. What failed then is that no meaningful reforms were implemented. This time, we'll see to it that all the democratic reforms are implemented. And it's only by implementing the democratic reforms that we can restore the people's power to hold those in public office to account. It is only when the people are able to hold those in public office to account that they can finally stop the madness of the glory of Caesar being put above the good of Rome. That is the message I would like to leave with you tonight. Thank you and good night.